What's up? How you doing? Miss Sandra, you can't watch it? I hope you can watch it now. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. All is well. Today, we're going to talk about CHA, Chicago Housing Authority. This lady right here, her name is Debra Parker. We're going to talk about Debra Parker. Talk about Debra Parker. Debra Parker is on the board of CHA. She is a community activist for over 23 years. Debra Parker is known in her community as a role model, mentor, a builder, and has served as liaison between residents and local officials, an advocate for better life choices to improve the quality of life for low-income families. She has traveled the country speaking on policies that affect the people she serves. Debra Parker is a member of the Housing Choice Voucher Participant Council, a former Altel Garden resident. Debra Parker served as vice president of the local advisory council at Altar Gardens and was a voting member of Altar Gardens working group, working as an information and referral counselor for teenage mothers with the Chicago Housing Authority. Ms. Parker was able to utilize her wealth of knowledge in housing issues while addressing and promoting upward mobility for all CHA residents. After working for over a decade for Halliburton and Root Architecture, Debra's experience and expertise in permit administration captivated her to form her own company, Carroll's Consulting and Expediting Services, that assisted small minority businesses with administrative tax, as well as licensing and permits. Debra Parker studied organizational leadership at Roosevelt University in Chicago, and she looks forward to advancing and improving the working relationship between CHA and its resident leadership through shared interests and responsibility. Go ahead, Ms. Parker. Sounds good. Sounds real good. Now, hope everybody is okay today. I'm okay today. So hope y'all are okay today. Hope everybody is well. So Debra Parker put her whole family on. Well, her boyfriend on, her sister on, and her daughter on for some contracts, right? So the first person to put this out here is my man Dan Dan with a last name I definitely cannot pronounce. But Dan from WBEZ Chicago, Sun-Times. Shout out to you, my boy. Shout out to you, Dan. So, on October 10th, 2025, an article came out and it said Chicago Housing Authority has paid $22 million to companies tied to board member. Who would that be? Ms. Parker. Ms. Parker! The three vendors include longtime CHA Commissioner Debra Parker's daughter, sister, and boyfriend. Parker says she hasn't helped them. So, just let you know that. In the spring of 2017, Debra Parker, a longtime Chicago public housing tenant activist from the South Side, and her boyfriend Charles Bell met at a Dunkin' Donuts on 79th Street and Cicero Avenue for a board meeting of a new janitorial business, Parks and Bell's Cleaning Company. Bell owned the company, public records show, but he made only $3,000 from Parks and Bell during the previous year. And the fledgling business paid Parker even less, just $800 in 2016. During that board meeting on April 2nd, 2017, though, it was discussed that Parks and Bells will seek new contract opportunities, according to meeting minutes. The fortunes of Parks and Bell improved quickly and dramatically. Soon it was one of the three companies with ties to Parker that saw that their business with the Chicago Housing Authority boom, with most of the payments from the government agency coming since Parker became a CHA board member in 2018. She ain't had nothing to do with it. Then Mayor Rahm Emanuel, this my boy be air. Then Mayor Rahm Emanuel nominated Parker for the CHA board, touting her as the first participant in the agency's housing choice voucher program to help oversee the agency. So she got a Section 8 voucher and a millionaire boyfriend. The American dream, the Southside hood dream. A few months after her appointment to the CHA board, Parker resigned from the Parks and Bell board and hasn't voted on board measures related to the company. I mean, why would she? Still, Parks and Bell saw its business with the agency skyrocket in the coming years from revenues of $30,000 in 2015 to more than $1.4 million from the CHA last year. A WBEZ investigation has found. Dan, you the man. And two other companies owned by Parker's close family members also have had lucrative dealings with the CHA since she became a commissioner 7 years ago. Records provided by the CHA in response to public records requests shows the agency has paid a combined total of nearly $22 million to Parks and Bell and 2 other companies owned by Parker's family members. She ain't got nothing to do with it, though. She ain't got nothing to do with this. Ryan's Cleaning Services Incorporated, owned by the commissioner's sister, Angela Parker, has been paid more than $15 million by the CHA. As with Parks and Bells, about 90% of the Housing Authority's payments to Angela Parker's company have come during the time Debra Parker has been on the CHA board. A company owned by Debra Parker's daughter, Leigh Diggs, founded in 2020, has been paid more than $1 million by the CHA in its first 5 years in business. Woo! Diggs' company, Leigh Decor and Cleaning, has continued to do business with the agency even after her arrest and indictment for identity theft in 2023. Diggs denied committing identity theft, but pleaded guilty to a lesser misdemeanor charge. Asked about her boyfriend, sister, and daughter's business with the CHA, the commissioner said she and other board members had nothing to do with their success because agency employees decides who gets work from the housing authority. She said board members set policy but don't give out contracts. I have no direct authority, Parker said, of the deals her boyfriend and family members got. Do they have a right to participate in contracts and opportunities in a free country? I think they do. They have the same right as every individual who is a U.S. citizen. She's right. Parker says she received ethics advice. That means she consulted with a lawyer on the matter, but would not show any documents that reflect any legal opinions she was given. Parker said her motivation in serving as a commissioner was unselfish. I'm trying to be a voice for people who don't have a voice. Parker's sister and boyfriend said they haven't benefited from their ties to the commissioner. No, why would they do that? Why would they do that? They didn't do that. $22 million. They haven't benefited. They haven't benefited. Everything I got from CHA, Commissioner Parker had nothing to do with it at all. Bell said, boyfriend, I know that's right, my man. Stay 10 toes down. My man. A spokesman for the CHA would not talk about Debra Parker or the agency's deal with her boyfriend and family members. This comes as Mayor Brandon Johnson's selection of former Alderman Walter No Good Burnett to head the agency has been delayed. The Chicago Sun-Times reported last month that Burnett and his wife, Darlena Williams Burnett, have been paid more than $260,000 as housing voucher landlords for the CHA, with 2 ongoing contracts and 5 that were active during Williams Burnett's 8 years as an agency employee ending in 2022 because they was about to come get her for that Hatch Act. The voucher payments to Burnett and his wife raised questions about potential conflicts of interest, according to CHA and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. HUD has required the CHA to seek conflict waivers. The issue of insider contracts at the nation's 3rd largest housing authority also came up at the CHA's last public board meeting on September 19th, and it was raised by Angela Parker, who said she has been unfairly investigated by the CHA's Inspector General due to her sister's position as a board member. When Debra Parker, sitting among the other commissioners, Angela Parker took the microphone during the public comment portion of the meeting saying, "I'm here today just to express my profound concern regarding an investigation that was made upon me with the Inspector General's office, and I truly believe that I'm being targeted because my sister, she's a commissioner." Angela Parker did not say how she knew she was being investigated or anything about the accusations she said she faced, but she denied any wrongdoing and said she deserved the business her company has gotten from CHA. Referring to her sister, Angela Parker, we do have separate relationships, and I don't think that the work that Ryan's does should have anything to do with anything else going on, because we will only receive our work through proper means. We've never done anything unethical. The unethical part, I don't know, Miss Angela, or anything like that. Angela Parker told the CA's board it has a fiduciary duty to ensure that the Inspector General's office treats her company fairly. Catherine Richards, the CHA Inspector General, would not comment. Angela Parker's company was founded in 2009. It has seen its revenue from the CHA rise dramatically in recent years. The CHA has paid the company a total of $15.1 million. Ryan's cleaning revenues from the CHA peaked at more than $3.5 million in 2023, but declined sharply last year. Like her sister, Angela Parker once was a resident of Altel Gardens, a CHA housing development that became notorious for the environmental hazards in its industrial neighborhoods on the far south side. In 2018, as Ryan's cleaning business with the CHA began to soar, property records show Angela Parker bought a 5-bedroom, 5-bath, 4,000 square foot house in Mokina. Reached by phone, Angela declined an interview request. The rise of Parks and Bails. Parks and Bails has been even more reliant on CHA deals for its revenue than Ryan's cleaning. And records from the CHA, the city of Chicago, and the state show Debra Parker played a role in Parks and Bails during the company's first year in business. Park's daughter and son also have been employees of Park and Bail. In filing as a minority-owned business eligible for contract set-aside programs, Bail, who was black, told Chicago city officials in 2017 that he was responsible for most of the company's management responsibilities, but that Parker was in charge of 80% of Parks and Bail's marketing and sales operation and did 20% of the company estimating and check signing. Parker was the company's secretary at its first board meeting in 2016 with an organizational chart for Parks and Bail listing her also as the firm's document specialist. Parks was paid $5,000 to consult for the company in 2015. This year, it was incorporated and has disclosed that she continued to work as a consultant for Parks and Bail in 2018. Parks and Bail also hired Parks' daughter in May 2017. Records show the company grossed only $30,000 in 2015 and $50,000 the following year. Bail told city officials in 2017, Parks and Bail's biggest deal was the $111,000 contract for cleaning bathrooms and pantries at 60 East Van Buren Street, the CHA headquarters. The next year, in 2018, Rahm Emanuel, nominated Parker to the CHA board. The mayor's office pointed to her extensive experience working for the Housing Authority as a counselor for teenage mothers and as a longtime tenant leader at Altel Gardens and in the housing voucher program. The Chicago City Council unanimously approved her appointment. Of course, they don't even know what they're voting for. The city council has always been, they just vote. For real, they don't care. And she attended her meeting as a CHA Commissioner in July 2018. I need to go back and look. The Chicago City Council, they probably wasn't even in there. It probably was like only about six or seven people that was in the council meeting. This council meeting, and Nancy approved it. But the first meeting, the committee meeting, it was made probably CHA, Housing, Real Estate. It probably wasn't that many people in there, and they just passed her on. Because I'm learning that's what they do. They don't even have a quorum. They just pass them on. In her candidate questionnaire for the appointment to the board, Parker described her business relationship with Parks and Bell, saying he had interacted with mentors and training facilitators at the CHA on behalf of the company. She also wrote, I have never discussed any contract agreements with the CHA. Bell did that, according to Parker. 4 months after her appointment in November 2018, Parker resigned from the other board she served on as corporate secretary of Parks and Bell. In a letter given to CHA officials, Parker wrote to Bell that she had chose between the two positions because Park and Bell's was an agency vendor. It is with regret that I tender my resignation with Parks and Bell's. It's her boyfriend's company, y'all. With Parks and Bell's company as corporate secretary. I'll see you when I get home, baby. Parker wrote, however, I recently accepted a volunteer position with the city of Chicago to serve as Chicago Housing Authority Commissioner. Of course, why? Of course it'll be volunteer because you're getting millions, baby. So I humbly choose the position as commissioner in order to make a difference in the lives of thousands of residents regarding housing needs. Since the company went into business, payments from the Housing Authority have accounted for 98% of the gross receipts, according to CHA records and minority business disclosure filings from Parks and Bell with City Hall. Still, Bell said he believes the CHA recently has treated his company poorly because Parker is his girlfriend and that the issue has caused friction in their relationship. I'm about ready to get rid of her over the way they treat me, Bell said. I can't, let me say it one more time. Bell said he believes CHA recently has treated his company poorly because Parker, his girlfriend, and that the issue has caused friction in their relationship. I'm about to get rid of her over the way they treat me, Bell said. He says his company does good janitorial work and has also has rehabilitated public housing units that become vacant for new tenants. I work for everything that I've got from the CHA because I do quality work, and they were calling me because I do the work fast and quick, he said. Bell said he is facing investigation by the CHA Inspector General, but has done nothing wrong. His lawyer, Jerry Chico, a former Chicago Board of Education president and mayor candidate, wouldn't comment. Parker has recused herself or abstained 5 times when measures affecting companies tied to her boyfriend or relatives have come before CHA board. In May 2023, when the board increased the amount the agency could pay a group of vendors, Parker said, due to family association, I am recusing myself from discussion and voting on this matter. And then she walked off. In 2021, when Mayor Lightfoot reappointed her, Parker again mentioned Parks and Bell in her candidate questionnaire, but said she had discontinued all professional relationships with the company when she resigned as corporate secretary 3 years earlier. Parker wrote, today, I have no role with Parks and Bell's. Therefore, there is no conflict of interest or appearance on me. According to the CHA's ethics policy, an actual conflict of interest needs not exist to constitute a violation of the policy. Activities that create the appearance of conflict of interest must be avoided. Records show Parker's 2 children continue to work for Parks and Bales, 2 children, after she left the company and joined the CHA board. Her daughter and Parker's son, Wilbert Moore, worked for Parker's Bale, cleaning CHA headquarters during the pandemic. The company has included to employ Moore. Bale said, describing himself as a mentor to his girlfriend's son. Lovey Diggs started her own business 5 years ago at her mother's home address, the Southwest Side Scottsdale neighborhood. Lovey Decor landed CHA business agency records show it paid the company more than $457,000 in 2023, though those revenues have fallen in the last year and a half. Court records show Diggs was arrested by Chicago police in February 2023 and indicted by a Cook County grand jury for allegedly using another woman's identity to steal more than $5,000 from the Bob's Discount Furniture Store in Calumet City. The case ended last year with a guilty plea for disorderly conduct, a year of probation, and an order to stay away from the store. Responding to questions from the reporter, Diggs wrote, "I was a victim of mistaken identity in that case." And she might be true. It might be true because it gets weird. It gets weird in Cook County, man. She did not answer questions about her company's business with the CHA, though. Parker and Bale tour River North luxury apartment. Parker remains CHA voucher holder. According to her financial disclosure statement, this year the voucher program, widely known as Section 8, is the nation's primary subsidized housing initiative, with public housing authorities typically covering 70% of the rent for low-income residents who live in privately owned housing. Though Parker has a housing choice voucher, CHA emails provide in response to a public records request indicate that she and her boyfriend toured and applied to rent a market rate unit in a luxury high rise in River North in 2023, and in October 2023 email to Parker's CHA email address, a leasing agent for the building wrote, "Hi Charles and Debra. Thank you both so much for coming in to tour yesterday and for your application. Someone else applied for the apartment they toured," the agent wrote, "but I'm so relieved that there are other options for you guys." The agent offered Park and Bale a 12-month lease for about $4,000 a month. The building management asked for and received proof of income and other financial statements for Bale and Parker's son before approving the application. Oh, she got approved, y'all. The email show. In one message, an agent who worked to broker the rental deal wrote, "Charles is the business owner and pays himself a smaller salary for tax purposes. So ideally, we expect the business and personal accounts will be combined for the approval." A WBEZ reporter trying to interview Parker left the business card for her and Bale with the building's doorman. Oh, they got a doorman, y'all. They got a doorman. Minutes later, she called back, but Parker and Bale said they do not live together and that only Bale lives in an apartment near downtown. How y'all feel about that? Yeah. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Now, the city of Chicago knocked down my family's bill. My mother invested $800,000 into this building because she was trying to do affordable housing for her nonprofit, and she was trying to get the money through TIF, but of course, you got to be clicked up to get the TIF money. To make a long story short, though, because my mother fought, she would not move to Atlanta with me because she was fighting to get justice to get her money back for what she paid. So what the city does is, if you agitate them just enough, they will get you a voucher. So they gave my mom a Section 8 voucher, and my mother was living in 600 North Lakeshore Drive. And they decided to mess with her voucher because I started going downtown to ask for the city to settle my family's case, because we have never been on Section 8. My mother's never been on Section 8 ever in our life. We've never ever lived the way that we're living now or anything like that. But the city of Chicago just refuses to settle this case. So because they refused to settle the case, they retaliated and blacklisted my mother and took her voucher away. So that is why she is staying with my sister, because they took her voucher away. This lady, not only is she on the board of the commissioner's board for CHA, Chicago Housing Authority, her boyfriend lives downtown in River North. My mother lived in Streeterville. That's how I know about what was going on in Streeterville. All her family got $22 million in cleaning contracts. She don't got nothing to do with it, though. She still is a CHA voucher holder. And you're dealing with people who, like my mother and other people that cannot get the voucher, have been on these waiting lists for so long, to the point that their kids are now grown. And then people get mad that Donald Trump wants to end Section 8 voucher, or he wants to put a time limit on it. He should put a time limit on it. There are people that are abusing Section 8, like this lady right here. This lady's a millionaire. Her family, she made her family a millionaire. Her whole family, she got they all think her husband, her boyfriend, a millionaire. He ain't even married you yet. You done made your boyfriend a millionaire, and he ain't even married you yet. You done made your sister a millionaire. She done went down there and told everybody that she getting investigated by the people. Nobody didn't ask her that. She voluntarily went down to the committee meeting last month and let them know that the CHA Inspector General was investigating her. That's how the story really broke. It's here. Everybody knows about it because your sister. You know what I'm saying? But they've been doing this because CHA has always been super corrupt. They do stuff. They're so corrupt. Well, right now, my mother, we have a court case. We're suing CHA too, because they took her voucher unlawfully, and they took her reasonable accommodations as well. They took her reasonable accommodations. They said the city of Chicago said they were no longer doing a reasonable accommodation. Now, how do you can't say you're no longer doing a reasonable accommodation. That is a federal rule that you cannot go against. But the city of Chicago do what they want because they are so they are so corrupt. I said I'm gonna stop cursing. The Chicago Housing Authority was once one of the largest and most independent local housing authorities in the U.S. But due to years of corruption, mismanagement, unsafe conditions, and federal violations, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development stepped in. In May 1995, HUD took control of the CHA, essentially a federal takeover of the agency. The takeover meant Chicago no longer controlled its own public housing authority. HUD found CHA guilty of financial mismanagement, unhabitable living conditions, and failure to maintain thousands of housing units. This places CHA under direct federal receivership, meaning HUD managed its operations, finances, and leadership. 1995 through 1999, HUD ran the CHA directly. 1999, HUD and Mayor Richard M. Daley signed the Plan for Transformation, which promised to rebuild or redevelop 25,000 public housing units. After that, control was gradually returned to local officials. HUD still oversees and regulates funding and compliance to this day. So while the CHA is locally controlled, again, HUD still holds major oversight power, especially regarding budget audits and compliance. Many of the same problems remain today: missing funds, misused TIFs, vacant lots, displacement of residents, and delayed redevelopment. The CHA still receives hundreds of millions annually from HUD, but much of the land meant for housing is being leased to private developers instead of serving residents. The history is central to understanding why housing corruption in Chicago continues and how federal and city level mismanagement intersects. The formal return of the Chicago Housing Authority from HUD's control happened during the years Barack Obama was rising politically in Chicago, and HUD's power shift overlapped with the Obama era. When Barack Obama was an Illinois state senator in 1997 to 2004, and later a U.S. senator from 2005 to 2008, he was politically tied to Chicago's redevelopment machine, which grew out of the 1999 HUD-Daley agreement. During this period, many CHA properties in TIF-funded areas were transferred to private developers under the Plan for Transformation. By the mid-2000s, HUD declared the CHA locally controlled again, but HUD never fully walked away. When HUD and Mayor Richard M. Daley signed the Plan for Transformation in 1999, they said it would tear down dangerous, deteriorated high-rises like Cabrini Green, Robert Taylor Homes, Stateway Gardens, building 25,000 new mixed-income units, part public housing, part affordable, part market rate. Now, does any of that make any sense? Part public housing. Now, these people, your father, Richard Daley Sr., he's the reason why Robert Taylor Homes was a thing, and because he was trying to make sure that he can contain all the Negroes in one area. So you decide to knock down all of the projects, the three main projects, right? While you over there killing the people that live in Altel Garden with environmental hazard fumes and stuff that they're breathing over there. But over here, you decide that you want to tear down these, and then you want to build 25,000 new mixed income units, part public housing, part affordable, part market rate. That right there is why everything don't even make any sense. And you have people that feel some type of way that they're paying market rent. If I'm paying market rent, if I can afford market rent, right? And then next door is a gamble that I'm going to deal with somebody that is public housing, and they may not know how to keep up the conditions because they're so used to being contained in this one place. Everybody has that. You got cousins, right? You got the ghetto cousin, you got the bougie cousin, you got, the Terrys, soul food. Everybody had a Terry, right? And then you come and here come the hood cousin. So now you got the hood cousins paying $150 in this luxury apartment building next to me when I'm paying $5,000 in market rent to get away, because if I wanted to pay what I wanted to pay, I'd go live somewhere in by where the projects were, or out south, or anything like that. So that's the whole purpose. But no, Richard Daley and the rest of these weirdos thought that they could knock down these buildings, try to put everybody together, but you really weren't putting them together, because a few of them made it downtown, a few of them made it into different places, but in reality, a lot of people got displaced. That's when they start really pushing for, when they really start doing redlining with the credit. You had to have, you can have a CHA, you can have a CHA voucher, but you better have a credit score of 801. You had to have a credit score more than what the credit score rating is in order for you to be downtown with your Section 8 voucher. You can't have nothing on you can't have nothing on your background, nothing. So they'll give you a CHA voucher. And what they do now, they started maybe the last, I gotta see how long they've been doing it for, but the mobility areas. So the mobility areas, there's no mobility areas on the south side. There's no mobility areas on the west side. The mobility areas are in River North, Lincoln Park, the Loops, Streeterville, stuff like that. However, and you can get a little bit more money for your for your voucher. However, you got to when I say you damn near have to come in as an illegal immigrant with clean everything, credit everything in order for you to get you an apartment downtown. If you came from Cabrini Green, if you came from Robert Taylor, if you came from Altar Gardens, you came from any of these places, and you didn't have a credit score of 800, if you didn't have your stuff together, even with the voucher, you're not getting downtown. They literally have it's modern day redlining. It's literally modern day redlining. There's another thing they do. You could get charged for something, right? For instance, they tried to charge my mother with a contempt of court. They tried to charge my mother with a contempt of court because my mother was fighting the city for knocking down the family's building, right? So because she was speaking out and talking about it and all those things, they tried her, Madigan's daughter, when she was Attorney General. She tried to get my mother on some charges. Now, she didn't plead guilty, any of those things, none of those things. They said that it wasn't even a charge. They said they just put contempt of court. However, anytime my mother would apply for any, with her Section 9 voucher, any apartment downtown, she would get denied off of that contempt of court that would come up. Just little things like that, stuff like that. Like, they literally are, they want us to be the next group of homeless people on these streets. And with the help of Rahm Emanuel. You know what I'm saying? Rahm Emanuel, they keep bringing up Rahm Emanuel's name, they keep bringing up Barack Obama's name, stuff like that. These people really are pushing for homelessness and homelessness for us and anybody else, especially us, because they're trying to buy up all this land with the help now of this terrible mayor, Brandon Johnson. That's why he was trying to hurry up and try to get Walter Burnett in there as that CEO, because they're trying to get all the CHA land. Robert Taylor over in Brownsville, they got all that free land right there. They put that Cabrini Green, We got a few people that refuse to leave there. Don't leave either. The Cabrini Green people that won't leave, stay in there. That's why they can't get you out. But they're waiting for y'all to get up out of there so they can knock that down. So then they had all that land right there. Then you got that. Then you got Stateway. Then they talking about Lathrop Gardens. Okay, you got all this CHA land. So while they're talking about affordable housing and all that, any type of land that they trying to get. The situation with my family, they were trying to get that land to build their affordable housing. Their 30%, because they ain't real no affordable housing. It ain't no real affordable housing. So during this period, many CHA properties in TIF-funded areas were transferred to private developers under the Plan for Transformation. By the mid-2000s, HUD declared the CHA locally controlled again, but HUD never fully walked away from it. When HUD and Mayor Richard Daley signed the Plan for Transportation in 1999, to tear down deteriorated high-rise like Cabrini Green, Robert Taylor Homes, and Stateway Gardens, building 25,000 new mixed-income units, giving residents a better quality of life and safer integrated neighborhoods. No, never was that. On paper, it sounded like an urban renewal with justice. What mixed income really meant, each new development was supposed to include roughly 1/3 public housing, 1/3 affordable, 1/3 market rate homes or condos. But that formula was rarely enforced. Developers argued that high public housing ratios would scare off investors, which it would have. So they quietly reduced the public share, sometimes to 10 to 20% or less. How the money flowed. HUD funding funneled through the Chicago Housing Authority. CHA sold or transferred land from demolished projects to private developers for little or no cost, with the help of the city buildings department. You got somebody like Marlene Hopkins in there that's knocking down buildings, doing whatever possible to make sure you got this land to transfer it to CHA. That's a situation that happened with me and with my family's case. You got somebody like Marlene Hopkins in there that's been over there for over 20 years. She's calling the shots. She's calling police powers, which doesn't make any sense, but calling police powers. That's why she's knocking down buildings without court orders and then making sure it's going to her buddies. And so they can work with CHA to get some of this CHA money. Developers then use TIF money, low-income housing tax credits, and federal grants to build luxury or affordable units. Most profits stayed with developers and politically connected management firms. So the land that was once publicly owned became private assets subsidized by the public. The Obama Presidential Center, that's an example. I guess who gave that lease? Rahm Emanuel. What happened to the residents? CHA demolished over 17,000 units of traditional public housing. Fewer than 10,000 replacement units were ever built for low-income families. Tens of thousands of residents were issued Section 8 vouchers and told to find apartments on their own, often in already impoverished neighborhoods. Many couldn't return because of strict one-strike rules, background checks, and credit criteria that excluded former tenants. What was the result? The result was mass displacement of Black families and the erasure of entire communities. That's my fight. And it's our own people that's doing it. We can talk about the white people, but these are straight Negroes that are doing this. They're displacing our own people. And y'all still voting for them because y'all just can't do Republican for some reason, but you could continue to do displacement. Who benefited? Developers and management firms such as Peter Holston. And they have washer and dryers and gardens. Was anybody know the projects? Right. And others got public land, subsidies, long-term revenue. Holston got all of the Cabrini Green area. The Cabrini Green area, over there by Second City, even where that Dominique's was over there, all that, like that's all of that right there is Halston, Peter Halston and his wife, who's a lawyer. And long-term revenue. Nonprofit fronts receive contracts for resident services that seldom reached the people actually displaced. Political donors and consultants tied to City Hall and state officials made millions managing the process. That is why Walter Burnett Jr. can never be head of CHA. When HUD and Mayor Richard M. Daley signed the plan for transformation in 1999, they said it would tear down dangerous, all right. And then, I'm messing that up. I'm sorry about that. I already said that. It went up a little bit. Okay, here we go. So the end result, 25,000 new mixed income. They promised 25,000 new mixed income units. Reality, fewer than 10,000 public housing replaced. So right now, you're looking at just right there, 15,000 people displaced. Okay, integrated communities, gentrified corridors, and rising rents. They promised safer housing for the poor, and what did reality get? Widespread displacement. Promised economic opportunity, consolidation. Where we at? Consolidation of land under private control. Chicago lost roughly 80% of its traditional public housing stock. So 80% of people, which is a lot of people. And everybody knows this because Robert Taylor held a lot of people just on himself. CHA still holds billions in unused federal cash and vacant land, while thousands sit on housing waiting lists. The plan for transformation was marketed to revitalize, but functioned as a land transfer and gentrification program that privatized public housing under the banner of reform. CHA budget for 2025 is $1.3 billion. In 2025, over $195 million is allocated for capital projects. That is for physical improvements, infrastructure, housing construction, renovations. In 2024, capital projects were budgeted over $168 million, including $50 million for the Restore Home initiative to renovate, rehab vacant smaller and medium-sized apartments. The $1.3 billion illusion. CHA claims balanced budget and strong bond ratings, but much of that money doesn't actually go to public housing residents. The majority of CHA budget comes from federal HUD funds, taxpayer money meant for low-income housing. Instead of using those funds to maintain and expand public housing, CHA increasingly funnels money into private partnerships, consultants, and mixed-income redevelopment deals that have pushed out thousands of original tenants. The capital projects like Restore Home sounds positive, but CHA has been sitting on hundreds of millions in reserves for years while thousands of units remain vacant and uninhabitable. CHA demolished traditional public housing complexes like Cabrini Green, Henry Horner, Ida B. Wells, and Robert Taylor Homes, promising to replace them with mixed income communities, but the reality, less than 10 to 20% of the promised public housing units were ever rebuilt for original residents. The rest became luxury apartments, retail developments, or vacant lots, benefiting developers and political connected nonprofits, not the displaced families. This entire redevelopment push was branded as the plan for transformation, under Mayor Richard M. Daley, supported by federal HUD leadership, and has effectively privatized public housing land. CHA has been hoarding funds for years. In 2013, reports revealed CHA was sitting on $432 million in reserves, while families waited years for housing assistance. The agency often underleases available units and leaves properties vacant, allowing deterioration and eventual demolition. This turns around and sells or transfers land for redevelopment. That strong bond rating means they're good at managing money for investors, not necessarily for the people they're supposed to serve. CHA awards and programs. CHA has failed to replace demolished housing units, failed to maintain existing buildings, and failed to make transparent redevelopment profits and TIF money flow. Often these programs are outsourced to politically connected organizations or used to justify inflated budgets that benefit administrators and developers more than residents. What we're really looking at is a land control and gentrification system disguised as urban renewal. CHA in the city of Chicago has systematically cleared out working class Black residents from valuable land. Then they hand that land over to private developers under the banner of public-private partnerships. The end goal: shift property ownership, increase tax bases, and reshape the city's demographics, not provide housing. So that's basically what we're dealing with. We have a displacement housing issue, and honestly, it started with Richard M. Daley in 1999, and with the help of Barack Obama, and then with the help of Rahm Emanuel. So that's why you start seeing Rahm Emanuel come back. You know, he was in Japan for a while. He's starting to come back. Obama's starting to come back. People are starting to come back because right now we're dealing with land control. We're dealing with real estate. We're dealing with a person who is in office that understands real estate, dealt with real estate. People want to sit and talk about he's working on trying to steal real estate, get real estate. Nah, we can stop playing this game. We can stop playing this game. People just mad because Donald Trump knows how to play the system, because the system has constantly played him because he was a real estate developer, been a real estate developer. People get mad to say that he wouldn't rent to Black people. I just explained to you a system that I'm Black, right? If I had a luxury building, if I put a luxury building together, right, and you tell me that I got to have market rate 1/3, a third affordable housing, a third public housing, no. And unfortunately, majority of people that's on Section 8, well, at that time was Black. You understand? Because they threw that at us. That was like that's what they dangled it dangled. You understand? Now they're giving it to the illegals. So people can sit here and talk about racism and all that stuff. Nah, there are certain people that like certain things and like to live a certain type of way. I'm not going to pay market rate in the same building that I have to share with people who are on Section 8, people who are on public housing. No, you understand? I'm just not going to do it. And if people think that's crazy, you're crazy. You're crazy. No, the project should have never been knocked down. None of the projects should have been knocked down. They should have been rehabbed. Somebody should take their contract, just like they gave this lady $22 million, her squad $22 million to clean bathrooms, because that's basically what they was cleaning, bathrooms. So they gave her $22 million to clean bathrooms and stuff, her and her squad. They should have had the money because they've always been in the green now. Now, CHA's always been in the green. They've never been negative, so they've always had the money. You guys literally could have rehabbed those projects. Y'all could have. Them projects been up there. Robert Taylor Home's been up there since my mother was a child. My mother is 76 years old. So you can't sit here and tell me that you couldn't have rehabbed them. If this was a good government, a government that actually cared about affordable housing, they would have rehabbed the projects. What was the purpose of knocking the projects down? What was the purpose of Rahm Emanuel shutting down all the mental health facilities? I mean, this is the Democratic Party. This is Chicago. So while y'all sit and are obsessed with somebody because he's been in the real estate game for a very long time, and he giving people the game, and he's still gonna make money for himself because why would he not? I think that's the thing I think people need to understand too. If I was the president of the United States, you think I'm gonna like put my business over to the side? No, he didn't. He didn't even. Donald Trump, the first term, he didn't take his salary. The second term, he didn't take his salary. He got his businesses, but y'all don't want him to make no money off his business. What? Like y'all, honestly, y'all got like it don't make no sense. Like real talk from like an entrepreneur point of view, from a business point of view, like myself, right? I told y'all how I'm living, right? I see how I'm living. Hold on, I'm gonna show you my dog. I have a dog, y'all. My dog is named Charlie. It's a girl. I named her after my pops. Named after my pops. And I posted. I ain't afraid. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they're gonna try to put anything against me because I'm speaking out, you know, and then we're gonna get into politics or whatever. But I just got an air mattress. But this is my dog, Charlie. I'm literally sleeping on my sister's floor, fighting the city of Chicago. On top of that, building my business. Do you think that when we get into office or when my candidates get into office, I'm going to throw my business over to the side? No, my business is going to make so much more money. Why would it not make so much money? My business will make so much more money that I'm able to help more people, because that's the problem. That's the problem. My business has nothing to do with me pushing to help make sure these policies are acceptable for our families, for our kids, for our businesses, for our elders, for our homes. We're literally, that's how this works. So for y'all to get mad at Donald Trump for having a business and making money, he's the president of the United States. He made it. Everybody else has. People who have, what's his name's rich? Biden's rich. Every president of the United States is rich. Clinton rich. Clinton wife rich. Kamala Harris rich, vice president. Bush is rich. Obama's rich. So as a Republican, you can't be rich. Like if you're a Republican, if you're a Republican president, you can't be rich. Like y'all arguments is crazy. Y'all, the hypocrisy is nuts. You got like some mental issues. Real talk. Like mental issues. Ain't nobody don't want to be nobody don't want to be poor. The reason why there are tiers, like they got the poor tier, and you got the middle class that the Democratic Party has taken away that we're trying to get back. You got the middle class, and then you have the upper class. Like there's three. I don't want to be out here again. You're not a luxury. You're not going to have me down the Streeterville, River North, or whatever, and I'm in there and I'm paying $5,000, $6,000 for my apartment, and then next door to me somebody paying $250, and now I got roaches probably. Like we gonna keep it 100. They yelling, they screaming, it's going off. And I'm saying, like, this is not, like, you got luxury buildings, and then you got, we call something else, since y'all like to say affordable housing, the affordable housing apartments, right? And the affordable housing apartments could have been Robert Taylor. They could have been the Ickies. They could have been Stateway Garden. Like, honestly, you guys could have literally used some of the money that is supposed to be from CHA and HUD, and you guys could have rehabbed all of the projects and made them affordable housing like y'all keep talking about every day. Like this president keeps talking, like this mayor keeps talking about every day about affordable housing. Ain't no such thing as affordable housing until you build affordable housing apartments and everything is Section 8 or affordable. And that's the only way that it's going to work. People don't have to live. Now, like I always say, Chicago is a prime example of healthy segregation. Everybody don't got to be around each other. We can all meet in the middle, downtown, when it's time to meet downtown. But people can, South Side should have it, West Side should have it, North Side should have it, whatever. Chinatown should have it. But I'm just saying that I just don't understand why this is so complicated. Why? It does not have to be this complicated. This is straight stealing. It's a land grab. You're gonna make sure your homies is able to get the contracts. Like Debra Parker made sure her family got the project, got what she needed. She made sure with the Section 8 voucher. She's going on almost 10 years. So I'm trying to figure out, is she gonna step down? What's she gonna do? Is she gonna get a voucher, a Section 8 voucher? Like, cause you can't sit here and tell me that she just got her. She got this billionaire boyfriend. He just have her out here like this. You done gave him all these contracts and he couldn't marry you. That's why she stepped down just because of that. Chicago is so fucking corrupt, yo. It's so corrupt. On Wednesday, October 15th, is the next CHA Commissioners meeting. You can register for public comment by 10 a.m. tomorrow, October 14th, if you want to speak. But it will be October 15th, the Board of Commissioners meeting. And that's about it. Shout out to Sun Times. Shout out to Dan the Man, Dan M. I can't pronounce your last name, my man. You gotta tell me. It looks Greek though. But yeah. So the next CHA Board of Commissioner meeting will be at 8:30 in the morning. And it's probably going to be a lot of people that's going to talk. She probably going to be there. And probably Angela Parker. Going to try to say something else that don't make no sense. And that's it. But yes, I wanted to get into that. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I did a good hour and 13 minutes. So please like, share, and that's it. But just understand that this is a millionaire with a Section 8 voucher that Rahm Emanuel put in office. And yeah, and then Brandon Johnson was going to try to put Walter Burnett in there so he can get this CHA land, because they out here laundering infrastructure money, holding on to this infrastructure money. So it's all bad out here. Yeah, that's basically it. But that's CHA. That's CHA for you. The corrupt CHA, the corrupt Chicago Housing Authority. It's forever corrupt. It's going to stay corrupt. And honestly, Secretary Scott Turner, you're going to have to come here and really do some federal intervention, man. Real talk. Because this is wild. This is wild. They all wild. This is really wild. It's people like my mom, who's 76, and they took her voucher away because of the reasonable accommodations and because I speaking out about the corruption. And they're doing it to a lot of elders. But Debra Parker, she got her voucher. And she is on the Board of Commissioners for Chicago Housing Authority. If this can't be any corrupt, and it don't care, look, it don't have no color. It's corrupt. Chicago, it don't matter what. As long as you take an oath to the machine, it don't matter what color, what race, what ethnicity, what nationality you are. You all are trash. And that's just what it is. The corrupt. They take an oath to this system. They take an oath to this corruption. This is what they do. So.